Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Jenny and I'm going to be doing a bit of a different video today. I'm going to be talking about something that's been on my mind a lot, probably for the last 2 years, and I just want to share it because I feel like it's a dialogue that we should be having more online, because it's about the online world and how I feel being part of it in my very small way. So if you're new here, I am Jenny. I am a visual artist working in textiles, and I live on the west coast of Canada, and I am also a mother, and I also worked outside the home for about 6 years in a museum. And otherwise, my work has been raising my kids, being a homemaker, and being an artist at various different intervals for various different amounts of time. So that is the perspective I'm coming from when I'm talking about my interaction on social media and how I interact with the platforms such as, the internet in general, social media with meta products such as Facebook and Instagram, and then YouTube, and also Patreon, which is my newest offering. So from the beginning of social media, it has evolved immensely, as everyone knows who has been around for that period of time and who interacted with these platforms from their kind of beginning stages to where they have gotten to today. So, I'm not here to share the history of these platforms. I think that's widely available and accessible for anyone who's interested in learning about that. What I'm more interested in talking about is how they've evolved for me and where I am right now in terms of how I feel about using them, and what I'm thinking about doing in the future around that. When I started using social media, I began with Facebook. There were various other iterations of social media: Twitter, Tumblr, blogging, which I also did. So I had a blog, a mommy blog, for many years, starting from when I had my first son in 2007 through to, I probably did it for 5 to 8 years, very consistently. I had a very small following, and I aspired to be kind of a mommy blogger, which was a whole thing if you'd like to go back and look it up. But it never really became, something where I had a large following, or I, had any sort of real influence, if you could say that, where, influencers were beginning at that time. But I loved the process of documentation, and I did it out of a sense of enjoyment. I wasn't doing it to make it a career or monetize it. And I don't think a lot of people were in the beginning. It was very much something that you were doing because it was this new interesting way of meeting people, of connecting. And so I joined Facebook, shortly thereafter, so I don't know, 2007, 2008, something like that, and really used it as a way to connect with people, friends that I had on there, the way everyone did in the beginning of it. And same with Instagram. I don't think I was an earliest adopter of Instagram. I think I probably joined a few years into it and used it as a way to share what was going on in my life the way everyone else did. I also developed a artist website. Now, this is kind of a standard thing for artists to have, is a landing page website with portfolio and information about them and their work. So as I evolved as a human, as the internet is evolving, as social media is evolving, I am realizing the potential for the internet to be a place where I exist as an artist. It kind of gives legitimacy to the fact that I am making work, that I am showing my work, that I am hopefully selling some work. And so my website is part of that. I shared a lot about my family and my life for a really long time on these platforms. At some point, when my kids were, I don't know, 8 and 5, or maybe it was a little even older than that, 10 and 7 or something like that, I started feeling a bit uncomfortable sharing stuff about them. And I think that was a natural evolution of their own, as they became less little cute babies and became more individuals. And the reality of having a life lived on the internet where everything about you has been posted in different formats for your whole life, I started feeling uncomfortable having them show up in my posts. And so that was a pretty conscious decision I made. I don't know exactly when. I think it changed over, the different mediums. At this point, I have my website, I have Facebook, and I have Instagram. I never adopted Twitter, Snapchat, or any of those things. At that point, I transitioned into only sharing my personal stuff, sharing about the books I read, sharing about the travel that I was taking. And so in those posts, you would sometimes see my kids, and then sharing about my art and my life as an artist. And that became my online persona and my online contribution, basically. And then we get into about 2017, and then I had been watching YouTube for many years, BookTube more specifically, so watching people who post about books they're reading. And I was also watching, I believe, a few artists who are posting artist vlogs, studio vlogs they're called, about their studio practices and what they were making. And so again, I felt this real calling to participate in that and started my YouTube channel at that time. And so my YouTube channel became, and still is to me, my main medium for connection. And I create these videos to document my practice, to share the work I'm making, to share the books I'm reading. And I think with every single platform you create, there's this feeling of, well, what if I go viral? And what if I suddenly, get this huge following and then I can monetize something? And I don't know if that was my own desire or if that was the natural evolution of living in a capitalist society where things are monetized and everything is seen as an opportunity to be productive and make a buck. But that became something internally that I was always wishing would happen but never happened. So, my following is not huge. My following at this time is like the largest on Instagram, but I wouldn't say I get a huge amount of interaction on my posts, and I don't have a huge amount of interaction on my posts on YouTube. My following has not grown at the same rate as some other YouTubers who started around the same time as me. And long ago, I decided to accept that as just a reality of the fact that what I offer and how I offer it is not something that's going to be a mass consumed thing. It's just not the reality for me in terms of the way I make videos, the way I come across in videos, and my personal commitment to goals around my practice, around my life in general, and work-life balance and all those things. I'm just not going to be someone that goes viral because I don't offer a lot of controversial opinion. I don't work towards something super slick and super stylized, which I think is very popular on all platforms. And I am not interested in developing the marketing and and self-promotion side of this journey. Now, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get into all the reasons for that today. If you're interested in discussing those reasons, then, feel free to leave a comment, but that's not really why I wanted to make this video. The basics of why I wanted to talk about this topic is because things are shifting again. And I think they've been shifting for a lot of people in a lot of ways. I've noticed that a lot of the more, large influencer YouTubers that I follow have changed on YouTube quite a bit over the last couple of years. Their work is becoming less slick. They're putting less high production into their videos and offering instead more authenticity and more rawness, because life has become, for whatever reasons, different for every person, such that they would rather just be posting and connecting with the audiences they've built than creating some sort of idealized and very stylized video for, creating these beautiful illusions of a perfect life. And I really respect that. And again, that is not what I'm offering on any of my platforms. I just don't have that in me. It's not, it's just never going to be what I'm capable of offering. And I've come to accept that, and that's okay. And I guess I wanted to say that for anyone who's making videos. And, you see a lot of people who start off and they make these great videos, and then they get a following, and they even get like comments and lots of interaction, and then they just drop off and you never see a video from them again. And it's because they, for whatever reason, figure that they can't maintain and sustain what they created. And so from the beginning, I created something that I could sustain. But as I've been sustaining it, I found that I've become less and less able to sustain it in a way that feels authentic to my values, especially around meta products. But also, YouTube is owned by Google. These platforms have, are inherently problematic because of the, reasons that, if you're not aware of why Meta and Google are problematic, you can look that up very easily. I'm not getting into that today, but, I have contemplated removing my Meta presence, and there's various reasons why I have not done that yet, and various reasons why I may never do that. But I am trying to figure out how to use the products in a way that aligns more with my values, and also allows me to shift the way that I've become accustomed to functioning as an artist. And so as an artist now, I post about different events happening, like exhibitions I'm doing, workshops I'm offering, art that I've made, etc. And my website will always be the best place, the best landing place to look at my work, to see the breadth of my practice. But Instagram is like this place where I post information and share different things. Less so Facebook, but I do have an artist page on Facebook. And so it is a presence for people to find me who use that platform. And YouTube remains the place where I offer long form content, and the content probably that is the most meaningful to me and the one that I hope most people will interact with. That being said, 2 years ago, I started a Patreon account. And Patreon is a very interesting platform where you have a page that is yours and people can become members of your page. They can do that for free, or they can pay a fee for a service offered. And so what I've ended up offering is an art book club. And again, it's a small group. Again, I'm not going viral. I'm not going to, suddenly have a huge income off of this offering, because again, that's not really what I'm trying to do. I was looking for a place to offer a book club where it could be intentional and where I could get, reciprocated for some of the work of putting together such an offering for people. I am feeling like that is the Patreon, and the way they're trying to do this is more in alignment with my values. And so right now, I'm just trying to figure out whether or not to completely leave the meta space and just maintain YouTube and Patreon, or whether they can still somehow be part of my offerings online and how that makes me feel ultimately. I'm also pulling away from a life lived so much on the internet. I think the pandemic created an online world that so many of us have stayed in and have resorted to in so many ways. And what I'm interested in doing instead is living more in the present moment in my community and connecting more locally and connecting with bigger issues that are really going to affect the world. So for instance, I've signed up for more email lists, newsletters. I also have a newsletter. Again, it's a small group that are part of that newsletter, but it's a more direct way to connect with people. And it does feel more authentic, even though it feels more labor intensive to create. And so again, I'm trying to figure out how to offer things on the internet, how to be present, but also to feel grounded in my humanity and in the things that matter day to day in my life, instead of feeling like, oh, I haven't posted on Instagram in a week. What am I going to post? And I have to post. If I don't post, I'll get lost in the algorithm. And that's true, you will. But is that really that important? Is that really that, is it really going to affect very much? So I don't really have a grand answer to any of these questions or to any of this that I'm sharing today. It's more about a dialogue around how we as participants in this, platform are thinking about this platform, are participating, and what we collectively want to have happen with these platforms. I feel like we should have more say in the way these things are offered and in how we use the platforms and offer up our content, as they wouldn't exist if we didn't make these videos. So I feel like the point, if there is a point today for me, is that things are shifting. They always are, I guess. But it's important to always look inward when we're making these big decisions and not allow the machine that is, social media and how it's been created to manipulate us control our interactions with it. It really is important to ground in yourself and authentically take control of the content you're offering and how you're offering it, without feeling any sort of obligation to post on someone else's way of doing it and someone else's advice, I guess. I listened to a lot of advice and wanted to grow my channel and all those things for many years. And despite doing the things that these channels suggested I do, consistency, quality, all these things, my channel never became the thing that some of these other channels has become. And I came to accept that that was just not something that I was willing to, put ridiculous amounts of time and effort into, because it just didn't feel authentic to who I was and the stage of life I was in and all those things. And only you can know that when you're making this content and when you're putting things out there. Only you can know what your life is like, what you're able to maintain and sustain, and how important that is to you in the grand scheme of your life. So yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to do right now. And I'd love to hear if any of you are struggling with these same things and are coming to any conclusions about them. I know there are alternative social media platforms out there that are being used by some people, and what I've come to understand is that I'm not really interested in exploring other alternative social media options to go back to some golden day of Instagram or something like that. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm instead looking for a way to connect with people locally and in a broader sense. I've had some really wonderful interactions in making this content. I've sold a piece via YouTube. I have gained a lot of artist connections for different projects I've run through these platforms, and I know that they have a lot of benefit and they can be, really great. But I also feel like they've become so convoluted now that it's really hard to see the good outweighing the kind of bad. And so, yeah, that's where I am. I don't have any specific answers to what I'm going to do going forward, but I just wanted to share that I'm definitely shifting, and would love to hear if you're shifting too, and if you've come to final conclusions, or if you're kind of in a state like me where you're a little bit here, a little bit there, and not really sure if it's something that you're going to drastically change, or if you're just going to withdraw a bit and be a bit more intentional about how you post, when you post, and what you post. All right, that is that conversation for today. Thanks for listening if you made it this far, and I will be back again soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching.